I will now blaze my own path to glory, unencumbered by the rules and regulations of the self-imposed idea of creating a raft in a game in which the building possibilities are endless. 11 Slides of Destiny is a game created by Disco Trio on August 8th, 2008. I have very fond memories of playing this game. It was once a bustling experience full of players, and now I'm the only one left. While quite simple by today's standards, this is still a game I show friends when I introduce them to Roblox. The game was actually updated on April 28th, 2021, seemingly to fix some of the broken slides. Well, at least partially fix them. We'll get to that later. Upon spawning into the game, I am hit with a wave of nostalgia. The game looks identical to how I remember it, just with no other people. I noticed my childhood goofy gear such as Smurf, Moneybag, and Roblox gift card are all still active on this server. Just seeing this gear in my inventory was a nostalgic blast from the past. The slides are the real stars of this game. Despite the simplicity of designs, each slide has its own character. Each area has a limited selection of building materials to create your raft to traverse the aforementioned Slides of Destiny. The only tool available to the player is the ability to move around the pre-existing blocks. If the blocks run out, you have to type into the chat the corresponding regen code. As a wee young lad, my account was restricted to the simple chat mode, so I could only input pre-made phrases. I longed for the day that I could enter chat commands like this. In addition to the raft building materials, each slide section comes equipped with a non-functioning skateboard, much to my disappointment. Alright, we saw all the bricks and we saw the skateboard that doesn't work. Without further ado, let's get to the slides. Jump and Stunt is the most straightforward slide of the bunch, so I start off with a very basic raft design. Once I am done building this beautiful creation, I am ready to ride. I click here to go. Off to a great start. If I keep this up, I'll be done in no time. I would come to regret that optimism later. With a quick flex of my Roblox gift card, I move on to the next slide. For Flip Up, I try to mix up my building process by adding wheels to my raft. Because as everyone knows, the best raft is a car. I never found a good use for these wheels when I was younger, but I'm open to trying new things. I will never try new things again. I decide to add a big honkin' stick to the front part of my raft for balance and style. Despite the chaotic launch, this plan works out swimmingly. Next up is keep moving. I want to create something a little more complex this time around. I meticulously craft this multi-layered beauty and head out. I am initially concerned with the lack of stick on this raft. However, the initial descent is smooth as butter. Unfortunately, I quickly hit a literal roadblock and have to think on my feet. I managed to pass my first test. If only they were all this simple. Be the ball is where things start to fall apart. The objective of this slide is unique, as the player is tasked with channeling their inner human basketball and launching themselves into a hoop to progress. Said launching feels random, and I repeat this slide many times before at last I succeed. After I dunk my own donut, I breathe a sigh of relief and move on. Acid Drop is a slide that has a steep incline. Water Wheel brings back the higher concept slides by adding an ostentatiously massive oscillating obstacle that obstructs the player. I either get very lucky, or this slide is very easy, because I nail it first try. I choose to believe it was all skill and move on. Either through memory or intuition, I immediately build a multi-layer raft to traverse the lava field. I correctly assume that each layer of my craft will get burnt as it touches parts of the lava. Things get a little dicey, but luckily, I built the perfect amount of layers to avoid scalding my blocky bottom. With a name like Truck Jump, I assumed it was time to start using some wheels. Turns out, you're not actually supposed to make a jumping truck. Rather, you're supposed to jump over a multitude of multitudinous FedEx trucks and into a ring, Evel Knievel style. I assume the creator grabbed these FedEx trucks as free assets, but I choose to live in a world where they painstakingly recreated the trucks purely for the culture. The physics are very wonky on this launch as well. I attempt to create a really rad canoe-type design. This design is so tubular that I'm spun wildly into the finish line. The Loop of Death was a major turning point in not only this video, but my life. I blessed this attempt by showing off my epic and cool Roblox gift card once again. I am affronted by the Loop of Death's formidable presence. It boasts a void-like darkness unlike that which I've never seen before. For some reason, it's referred to as the Silver Slide, but I assume there was a design change at some point. Attempt after attempt, everything seems to fail. I just keep flying straight through the slide and into the sky. This slide possesses steep loops, the likes of which have only been seen at Action Park. Despite my efforts, nothing I try has any chance of working. I'm afraid it's looking like I have to face the harsh reality that I might never become a wiener. It is becoming clear to me that beating this slide traditionally is not an option. Throughout the other slides, I did mess around with the idea that there might be some hidden cheese in this game that I could use to my advantage. An invisible wall blocks my path. I begin testing several methods to try to bypass this wall. I discover by zooming all the way out, I can grab parts from all the previous slide locations. With a near infinite supply of resources at my disposal, I begin to climb. This leads to the shocking discovery that the invisible walls might have a height limit. In this moment, I am filled with an indescribable feeling of hope. If I could just build a staircase, I could summit the invisible wall. I commence construction on a rudimentary ladder and bridge. However, during this process, I theorize another solution to this problem that might be easier to execute. I will take a seat and attempt to clip my character through the invisible wall. This moment would be my greatest mistake. For some reason, trying to glitch through the wall disables my building tool. I panic. Without this tool, I can no longer progress. I try several things to regain control, but nothing works. My heart sinks. Perhaps this slide is truly impossible. I close my game in defeat. Like Icarus, I too have flown too close to the sun. No, I've come too far to quit now. With the knowledge I have gained from my cheese attempts, I began hatching a new plan. I start constructing a new ladder and bridge system to see if it's even possible to skip the slides. I determine, while possible, it seems like it's going to be very time-consuming. That is, until I have the idea to rotate the blocks to speed things up. This still doesn't address the issue of actually climbing up the platform I created. Then it dawns on me, all at once. I can use money to build a ladder. Of course, the answer was in front of me the whole time. How could I be so blind to not see? I can simply abuse my wealth and status to climb the proverbial rungs of progress and bypass the working man's slide. This whole time, I never even had to build a raft to get down these slides. I could have built anything. I will now blaze my own path to glory, unencumbered by the rules and regulations of the self-imposed idea of creating a raft in a game in which the building possibilities are endless. I pull my body up the fiduciary ladder rung by rung. This plan worked perfectly. And then the money despawned. I plummet and snap back to reality. My plan still works in theory, I just have to be quick. Time is money after all. Through the power of capitalism and dumb ideas, I can ascend high above the slides and begin my journey to regain my lost progress. Tears in my eyes. I finally arrive at the slide. A good idea. I am stricken with worry and fear after the disaster that was the Loop of Death. Bolstered by my newfound resolve, I launch my brick envoy and embark on a slow journey down the darkened river. I sprinkle some more money for good luck. As I recede into the darkness, I am suddenly met with a sharp drop. Luckily, the slide is painfully easy, and I move on to the final slide. This is it. Hectic turns. Yes, spelled like that. After everything that I have faced, after all the sacrifices I have made, this slide doesn't look so tough. I build a simple raft to test it out. I immediately get launched out of the slide like a sock in a broken washing machine. Perhaps this isn't going to be as easy as I think. Many attempts fail. I realize that the two gaps in the slide are going to be my biggest obstacle. I try to create a raft that will be too wide to fall through the gaps, and that fails miserably. But this failure reignites an idea in my mind. Have I so quickly abandoned my ideals? Rafts are not real. None of this is real. I block off the gaps with bricks. This is a good start, but it doesn't address the issue of slowing down toward the exit. I try to wedge a block at the ending to catch me before I'm flung. I try one more time, and to my horror, I jump too early, causing my character to whirl around at warp speeds. Luckily, by some divine intervention, I am bounced into the finish line. I am about to take my rightful place and become a wiener. The ending area was a classic throwback to a simpler time, when all players needed was a couple of dubious givers and a dance floor to feel accomplished. As expected, none of the giver scripts actually functioned, but I still felt a sense of pride and accomplishment for completing the challenge. As I'm ready to wrap up, out of the corner of my eye, I notice something. To think I was done. My own hubris has bested me once again. In the distance, I spot it. There is another slide. I have to complete it. I've come all this way. I gear up my raft to try to take the final slide. Unfortunately, it seems like this last slide is a racing slide between two players. A cruel, cruel irony in a series about abandoned games. My hope is that maybe one day people will return to this forgotten game and we can find out what lies beyond the final slide together. Oh wait, never mind. I went over there and it's just a black wall. Hey everybody, thank you for watching. This was my first attempt at longer form content, so please let me know what you think in the comments. Any feedback is helpful. Also, please consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge since you made it this far. Type "you forgot to play the cha-cha slide" in the comments to confuse everyone. Bye.